Hello, good morning, and welcome to this Dawn Buyers Taste Challenge. Yeah, daylight is arriving out there at this pretend time of 5:36 a.m. Central Daylight Time. Really 4:36 a.m. if you want to go by a more accurate time, which maybe one day we'll go to a regular time all during the year. We won't have to play these games. But anyway, I have, whoops, put the older one first. This is Sköl, imported Sköl dry white rum from J.A. Daugherty and Sons. Daugherty's Sons, sorry. J.A. Daugherty's Sons. Distillers, Owensboro, Kentucky. Well, let me tell you, they were bought out by Glenmore Distilling years ago. In fact, they gave up liquor production, and when 1919 came along, they were like, let's get out of the business, and they just sold everything. Hold on a second, water dripping on my glasses. So I think Daugherty was a J.A. Daugherty, John A. I think Daugherty was one of these immigrants from Scotland, started a liquor business, same kind of a continuous story of the 1800s, typical story, like James Crow, Dr. James Crow from Scotland. And it was a pretty strong liquor enthusiast says hi, hello to you. It was a pretty strong liquor company, family owned. His sons really got it going. He started it and did a little bit with it from what I was reading in the history. But his sons, two sons, got it really really got it rolling. And but then, like I said, Prohibition came along and they sold out to Glenmore, and then Glenmore sold out to the Sazerac Company. So, in the liquor world, these buyouts happen seemingly every week. Skål, that's the Scandinavian, Norwegian, Swedish, Danish, I guess Icelandic term for cheers. What the heck was that noise? Oh, that was that refrigerator cycling on. It squeals. It's been doing it for 2 years, but it still works. So we'll wait till it breaks. Okay, there's two griffins holding up a shield with a rum barrel and a castle on it. Two colors, red and black, 3 fleur-de-lis, and it says Skål. Yeah, knock wood. Well, I'm not worried about it. I mean, I've gotten over 10 years out of it. I could remember back in the 1970s, a refrigerator might last 30 years. You get a Kenmore and it would just never break. Eventually it would, but it was amazing how long they would last. We had a 1950s refrigerator on the back porch. My father used to store beer in it, stuff like that, and had a little freezer, a little small freezer with a door on it. And that thing ran it was like a 1951 kind of thing with the condenser coils at the top, on the top of it. They were really old fashioned, like you see in the old movies, Honeymooners television show. But somebody gave it to him. And then he decided he didn't want it. My aunt took it down to her place in Grand Isle, Louisiana. And that thing still ran until about 15 years ago. Finally petered out, conked out. But anyhow, well, hopefully that refrigerator will continue rolling along. If it squeals a little bit, I can live with that. Hot Point from General Electric. I have a GE. It's been here since 1997 when I bought the house. Yeah. Well, that's what mine is, a GE brand. There's a big General Electric facility in Shreveport, Louisiana. I don't know what they make there. It's huge, though. Okay, anyway. And if it's up to President Trump, there are going to be a lot more factories in the United States. He wants to bring back manufacturing. But this is Skål. And It almost makes you think that the whole, I mean, I can't prove it, obviously, it's conjecture. And it makes you think that the whole deal with prohibition was a plot, like an insidious plot to run small mom and pop, so to speak, liquor companies out of business, so that all the liquor business could be consolidated under a few brands. Because think about it, before prohibition, there were hundreds and hundreds of distilleries all around the country putting out different brands. Well, prohibition came along, so they all shut down, except for a few who kept producing other products, and even some, five, I believe, were allowed to produce medicinal whiskey. Go to the doctor and get a prescription for whiskey. Well, everybody could see the whole thing was a fiasco and it was stupid, and you're making a product, you're making something a crime that's clearly not a crime, right? You're outlawing liquor and turning it into a crime. And after prohibition, they started up again, but now you only had a handful of companies making liquor. Seagram's, Beam, Jim Beam, Jack Daniels, Brown Forman, who bought Jack Daniels 23 years after prohibition ended. And so, yeah, it makes you wonder. Now, of course, countries like the Bahamas, they loved prohibition because once prohibition started, their tourism rate skyrocketed. Now all these people from Florida and New York want to go, or to Bermuda, that little island country out there in the Atlantic. They all want to go there on a trip, naturally, because can drink liquor. So the Bahamas, they said, keep it illegal, man. And a lot of smuggling went on too, illegal stuff. But anyway, Gran Legacy Silver is the competitor. Introduced only 19 years ago, 2006. So not an old brand. So I don't know what it's a legacy of. But all the Gran Legacy products have the little shield with the copper pot still, which is probably not being used to make this stuff, and a crown for whatever reason. I don't understand that. Probably just some commercial artist came up with the design, and then the company was like, yeah, it looks good. Okay, Caribbean's, what is Gran Legacy Silver? It is Caribbean style rum with natural flavors, which actually rum is allowed to have natural flavoring, so you don't even have to put it on the bottle. In fact, if you read the regulations, it can be secretly and no disclosure required, but they do disclose it here. And I get the impression that this one, they exceed the allowed amount of flavor. You can only go up to 2.5% of the volume with flavoring. Unless you want to go above that, then you just call it Gran Legacy Silver instead of Gran Legacy Rum. Gran Legacy Silver being style rum with natural flavor. See, a lot of these laws are in a way meaningless because the U.S. government came up with this category called distilled spirit specialty, meaning it can be anything that doesn't fit any other category. So it's a clever way, really, to do it, because like you can't add flavor into bourbon. If you read the regulations, not allowed, and can't add coloring, not allowed, no way, unless you sell it as a bourbon with natural flavors and caramel color. You say, well, that's the same thing, right? Yeah, it is, but it's all technical differences to it. It's like in Germany. I was reading about this in Germany. You cannot add any corn or rice to German beer, and you can't add flavoring or coloring, right? So in our minds, all German beer is pure. But if you read the regulations even more carefully, Germany is full of adjunct beers, corn, rice, flavoring, just like we have the flavored malt beverages and all of that. But they don't call it beer. They call it malt beverage with natural flavors. but everybody knows what it is. Like you can't sell strong beer, or used to not be able to sell strong beer in the United States. You can't after Prohibition. Well, we're going to make sure we don't have that strong stuff anymore. So beer cannot go above 5%. And then all the neo-Puritans who like to regulate everybody's lives say, good, keep it like that. And then all of a sudden, they started having 8, 9, 10% products on the market called malt liquor. Wasn't called beer. It's called malt liquor. A beer is made out of water, barley, malt, hops, yeast, maybe corn or rice added in to help fermentation. What is a malt liquor? Well, it's made with water, barley, malt, corn, and rice, and yeast. And they just give it a different title. So there was an end around. It was a game. It's a game. And but now somebody in Alcohol Legs yesterday posted a photo of Max Ice. In Canada, it's called Maximum Ice from Labatt. And this one is from Labatt, USA, because they have brewing operations now in Rochester, New York. But on the can, on the side of the can, the legal disclosure said strong beer. And I was shocked. I said, strong beer. So either the regulation was revoked or they just don't enforce it. You know what I mean? Like a few companies did it, nothing happened to them, so everybody started doing it. See? So now it says strong beer. Right there. Used to only see that in Canada. You go Canada, they were more open at it. They say strong beer, extra strong beer, powerful beer, or whatever. I'll give you a perfect example. Schlitz malt liquor in the United States was sold, I think they don't sell it there anymore, but it was sold in Canada as Schlitz strong beer. 6% here, 6% there. So then, anyway, that's the story on that. All right. So these regulations are kind of funny, you know. They're comical, like wetlands, the Wetlands Act. Cannot destroy any wetlands in the United States to build something, you know, swamps and marshland, unless you get a waiver from the Department of the Interior. So in Louisiana, they're always cutting down forests, filling in the wetlands with sand and dirt, and building an oil refinery, or like they did down the river here, a diesel refinery. Yeah, but it violated the Wetlands Act. No, they got a waiver. See? So they just keep cutting it down, filling it in, and swamps disappear. Now, you say, does that violate the spirit of the law? Yeah, of course. Which makes the law such a joke. I would like to show you a web page for these products, but Sazerac no longer has a web page for these products. So I can't show you anything. It doesn't exist. They used to. Now, in the old Sazerac website, it was very comprehensive. They listed everything they made, no matter how obscure or weird. And of course, they would talk about how fabulous it was. Then about 8 years ago, they said their website was under construction, and it was no longer, and it took like 2 years. It didn't function. There was nothing there. And then they had the new Sazerac website, which is now not that new. But all the kind of lesser brands disappeared. And now all they feature is their, well, you know, their famous stuff like Sazerac Rye and Buffalo Trace, Wheatley vodka, all the stuff that you know about. Okay, so I don't know why, but I guess all the companies did that. Jim Beam did it. They used to have the same thing, a website covering everything. Then they just dropped it, and now they only show a few select brands that obviously they want to push. But they make so many brands. Like a lot of the cheap stuff you see on the shelf at the store, it's like, I never heard of this cheap Canadian whiskey. And it'll say some name like, you know, Elegant Distilling Company of Kentucky, Claremont and Frankfort and Claremont, Kentucky. And you're like, whoop, isn't that where Jim Beam has their operation? Yes. But they don't want to put their name on it. So they put some alias name. All they have to do is register that alias name with the U.S. government and what they call an assumed name, and they can do it. Okay. Is it deceptive? Well, yeah, because you, the consumer, if you're not educated on it, you're not going to know. On the other hand, 99% of the consumers don't care anyway. So they're not going to look at that. Most people that buy Crown Royal think Crown Royal is a company. You know, you'll hear them say, I think Crown Royal, they make good whiskey. Crown Royal was Diageo. It's a global liquor empire headquartered in London, New York, London, England, New York. You'll hear people say that, you know, Budweiser makes good beer or whatever. Well, Budweiser's never been a company. It's just a brand of Anheuser-Busch, which is now Anheuser-Busch InBev. So anyway, oh, well, usually learning about the liquor and the beer is more interesting than the actual products. The products are, you know, they're interesting, but they're not that interesting. All right. They kind of taste the same across the board, but you're not supposed to say that, right? All right. Got to live that dream. It's all different. Okay. Like canned chili, it's so different. This tastes very regular. Very regular, meaning it tastes like rum, meaning sugarcane distillate, okay? Light molasses, clear, no aging. Where is this imported from? They don't say. So probably some Caribbean island or maybe a group of Caribbean islands, and they probably blend it together, you know, to get an optimal flavor. I think different batches will come from different islands because Sazerac got contracts with all kind of distilleries across the Caribbean, I believe, and they don't own any. Just whatever deal they can swing, you know, year to year. And it probably isn't going to taste that much different. And most people are going to buy Sköl they're going to make cocktails with it anyway. They're not going to sip it neat at room temperature, not clear rum. See, so if there is a difference batch to batch, it'll be so minimal that it'll be practically meaningless. All right. I paid $6.99 for this liter bottle. True story. Why did they have it so cheap? I don't know. I didn't ask. I just bought it and left the store. They had the white, dry white, and the gold. Now, if I went back to that same store, it might be $9.99 now. Still, you say, but that's low anyway for a liter. I know. Gran Legacy, this big bottle was $10.99 with the pharmacy card. Now, it used to be owned by a pharmacy. Well, the brand was owned, wasn't made by them. The pharmacy company lost interest in this line for whatever reason. Probably not. The sales weren't what they had hoped, and they abandoned it. You started seeing Gran Legacy showing up at independent liquor stores, which I thought was odd. But all they did was just sign it off to the distributor, say, look, let anybody buy it. We don't want it. We're getting out of it. Okay. And last year, Casey's General Stores, a convenience store chain throughout the central United States, except for Louisiana, which they don't have a presence here yet. Apparently, they're supposed to come here. They acquired the trademark, which was easy to do since it had been abandoned. I think that's why Pabst Brewing Company recently, last 3 years, licensed their trademark for Jack's beer to Port Orleans Brewing Company, a small New Orleans brewery. Dixie had stopped being produced for ridiculous reasons in 2021. I think Pabst saw that as a great opportunity to bring out Jack's, a historic New Orleans brand and brewery. The brewery building is still there, but it's a shopping mall today. But there's a little museum inside. It's free. It doesn't cost anything. Showcasing the history of Jack's, because it's across the street from Jackson Square in New Orleans, Jackson Square. So Port Orleans started producing Jacks under license from Pabst. And they say it's a Pilsner style beer. Well, I don't know how Pilsner it tastes. To me, it isn't, but they claim it is. But tastes nice. And it's bottled, not canned yet. And I haven't seen cans, but it seems to be selling very strong, Jacks. One of those nostalgia beers, not made at the brewery, but still made in New Orleans. But they don't show Andrew Jackson's statue anymore. They show the cathedral behind the statue because I know what they're thinking. Oh, but he's controversial, so let's not put it on the bottle. Some people are going to get angry. I got angry that they didn't put it on the bottle because that was always the Jacks, the Jacks logo, Andrew Jackson equestrian statue. But anyway, I think Pabst did that for that reason. And secondly, if they didn't use the trademark, they would lose it. See, if you don't use a trademark for a certain number of years, you lose it. It goes in the public domain, and anybody could catch on to it, register it, and they could take it over. Or wait a minute. Well, I believe when it goes in public domain, that's it. It's free to anybody. But I think if you catch it before it goes there, you can trademark it. Yeah, I'm not a lawyer. I'll just play one on TV. No, but all right. And that's why some people say that Falstaff beer is produced every now and then in obscure parts of the United States. They produce a batch, sell 12 packs, and you don't see it because Pabst doesn't want to lose the trademark. I don't know why they don't want to lose it. They don't do anything with it. Why keep it? Why not sell it to somebody? But you got big plans. We got big plans. Falstaff. Well, you shut down their last brewery in the 1990s. You clearly don't want to do anything with it. Why don't you just sell the brand? Like Pearl Beer. You can't even find Pearl Beer in Texas. They shut down that brewery in 2001 or something. I don't know. Pabst is the strangest company. This tastes like it's got a little flavoring. So this one is dry. It is dry. There's not much sweetness to it. Dry. White rum distillate. I mean, it is just... Yeah, it would be great to mix because it wouldn't interfere with anything, the flavor, because it really doesn't have any flavor. Okay. Smooth, easygoing, light body, like they say. And yeah, it's fine. This one's got a little tweak to it, a little sweetness, and I think that's vanilla, probably. I can't prove it because on the phone, I talked on the phone with the man from Buffalo Trace Distillery. He said they don't release the flavoring. That's a private secret recipe, whatever secret. They don't. It's a trade secret. They don't tell you what the flavoring is. He said, I work for the company. They don't tell me. He said, but to me, it tastes like vanilla. Just personal opinion. And to me, it tastes like vanilla too. Now, okay. Is there an overriding vanilla flavor with this product? No. Nope. Just tastes like rum. Just a little tweak. And they write that so tiny on there. It's so tiny, most people are not going to even notice that it says with natural flavors. They write that on purpose tiny. It's there. You can read it with effort. And so they're following the law because the regulations say it's got to be legible. Doesn't have to be prominent. All right. Like a lot of these expensive craft beers, they'll say, this India Pale Ale with natural flavor. It'll be real small with natural flavor. They don't want to. They got to put it. They have to. That's required. But they'll put it so tiny if they're hoping nobody will catch it. You won't catch it. All right. Just like a lot of these bourbons, right? Big Texas bourbon made for Texans. We're like a whole other country. Howdy. Texas bourbon, big Texas bourbon. But then you read the label real carefully and it's a product of Indiana. What? Like Louisiana, a lot of Louisiana hot sauce. But if you look carefully, it says Louisiana style hot sauce from Jersey City, New Jersey. Oh, well. This has some sweetness to it, or course, has some sweetness with it, but it's not particularly sweet. On the other hand, it's not as dry as I had first believed with the initial sip. Rum is made from sugar, but there's no sugar in the final product because the sugar converts to alcohol. But whatever reason, the flavor carries over. But the actual product, it's like Miller Brewing always says on their labels, this beer contains no corn syrup. But it says on the way, we use corn syrup in the brewing process, but there is no corn syrup in the final product because it all converts to alcohol. So when people say Miller beer is full of corn syrup, it's not full of any corn syrup. There's no corn syrup in the beer. The corn syrup is in the form of alcohol, ethyl alcohol. Okay, but the flavor might carry over. You might have a corn flavor. Although Moosehead Beer Company said that if a beer is brewed correctly, the adjunct should never be detected. It should totally ferment out, and you should only taste the quote unquote beer flavor, which I guess that's part of the beer flavor, really, considered North American beer. But anyway, you get it? And it's funny with some people are real fanatical about, I'll never drink a beer with rice or corn. You should never add adjuncts to beer. Like it's like a religion to them, a religious tenet. And I'm like, well, what are you drinking? I'm drinking this Belgian ale, a real beer. I'm a man. I'm 40. It's like, well, wait a minute. Hold on. Time out. Time out, Nipsey Russell. Did you bother to read the label of the Belgian beer that contains candy sugar and coriander? Those are adjuncts. No, they're added onto the beer to add flavor, right? Well, that's different. Oh, how is it different? Oh, because you paid $9 for the bottle. I see how it's different, but it's actually not different. All right. So people are funny like that. In other words, it's only wrong if you do it, but if they do it, it's not wrong. I've known people like this. Whether it's religion, politics, doesn't matter. Lifestyle, it's always that they'll use that like, this is what you need to do, but it doesn't apply to me. Why is it the case that it doesn't apply to you? You know, that's a strange thing to me. I can give many examples. All right, I'm sure you can too. Oh well. Now, which one of these would I buy? Whatever one was cheaper, because they're not that different. They're different, but not enough to make me think about it, really. So Gran Legacy is cheaper per ounce, so I'd buy it. But yet the price is so close that that's not even worth thinking about. We're talking about pennies on the dollar, so it could come down to which label you think is better looking. You say, well, I love turquoise, so I'm gonna buy Gran Legacy. Good. That's a good idea. I love black and gold with a little red and black highlights. I'll buy Sköl. Correct. Or maybe it's down to, well, I don't like plastic bottles. I'll buy glass. Okay. I get that with some people. But otherwise, really no other determining factor. I can't see it, but I'm gonna say, for the sake of argument, because last night I got burned on it. I thought Winn-Dixie was Winn-Dixie, and I thought Gran Legacy was it, and I got them mixed up. And I know Sazerac has a house style. Brown-Forman has a house style. Jim Beam has a house style. I find that they do. Their products taste similar one to another. But then you're not supposed to say that. Okay. And I'm not using that as an excuse, just the reality. I'm going to say this is the Sköl. It is. That was close. Woo, that was tough. But that little tiny and basically unimportant difference did shine through, but with extreme effort. So if you have to make extreme effort, that means it's not worth the effort. I mean, think about it. We only all we're doing is tasting liquor. It ain't like some important thing. Uh, some people think it's important. I don't know why. They think beer, wine, and liquor is so important, like it's a religion. You know, like it's a moral judgment, right and wrong. Like literally, they think that if you like certain beers, that you're a morally defective person. When in reality, you just have different tastes in them. You see, in other words, like in their mind, it's like criminals versus upright citizenship. I don't steal, I pay what I owe, I don't cheat on my tax. And that guy's a criminal. He steals, he's a bank robber, whatever. He's violent. Okay, well, that is a clear moral difference. Tasting beer, wine, and liquor is not a moral. It's that it would be like you have a warped outlook on things. Okay, but anyway, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to do that. I do it as a hobby. It's fun to try them. That's it. That's all I look at it as. I buy the brands, I try them, tell you if I like them, see if I can tell them apart. There's no socios, psychological attachment to it. I don't have an attachment to it. Okay. So there you go. Would I score these both a B? Yeah, I'll give them a B. They're good. Now, I'm not saying B plus. Very good. I'm not going that far, but I wouldn't go that far, but they're good. So can you buy a good rum for a cheap price? My experience says yes. This is my experience. Now, some people might try these and talk about how they trash. It tastes like nail polish remover, and they made me gag, and I'll give it away. I wouldn't give it to my enemies and all this. And I'm tasting it. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. You seeing things I don't see because I think you're not being honest. I don't know if you're stunting or trying to establish some kind of like craft beer credibility or craft liquor credibility that you got to hate everything. I've been watching these videos in Houston, Texas. They are terrible. Their videos are terrible. Their language is appalling. Their videos are horrible because they don't really focus on the products. They turn it into like a vlog telling us what community events they attended this week. Is totally not interesting. And then they like as a perfunctory thing, they've always got to slam any even if it's like a mass-produced craft beer like Shiner, or they hate all Shiner beer. Oh, it's terrible, 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 terrible. I'm like, no way, that's not terrible. The Shiner Christmas Ale, whatever it's called, Holiday Cheer, that's what it's called, Holiday Cheer. I mean, it's kind of ordinary. I think they add pecans and some spices to it. It's nice, but it's nothing, really that special. Like you got to run out and buy it. But it's always consistent and it's good every year. They on there talking about this beer is blank. This beer is a bunch of blank and blank. And I'm like, did you not learn how to speak? Like your whole life is cuss words? You say you're offended by that. I'm not offended by it. I don't get offended really by stuff. I offend other people unintentionally, but to say I get offended is not true. But I'm just evaluating their videos on its face value, which is terrible. And so I just caught on to their theme, and they don't make any more videos. They never got too many subscribers. No shock. And I'm just watching the ones I had saved to my watch later list. But I'm thinking, wow, this is like everything wrong. Like this is the best way to not get followers on your YouTube channel. And then they get discouraged. Nobody likes your videos. I know because your videos are terrible. And if somebody tried to tell you to help you, of course you wouldn't listen. But anyway, all right. So yeah, the whole point is these are not terrible by any stretch. I know what terrible is. I had camo beer. I know what an F is. F means you can't drink it. If you drink it, you get sick. Well, those are rare. I know what bad is. That means it's just a bad product. You could drink it, but you would hate drinking it. These are nowhere close to that. Average means it's okay. You could, if somebody gave these a C, I'd go along with it, but I wouldn't agree with it because I think they're a little bit better than a C. I think Buffalo Trace, even at their low end, and they have many low end products that they do not like to talk about, but even their low end is pretty good. I just think their quality level is good, you know. So even when they're trying to make a bad product, they can't make a bad product. So I'm still saying for these, they're around a B, 83 low end, 8.7 would be pushing it, definitely pushing it. I wouldn't go along with that. But anyway, so cheers to Buffalo Trace for not being able to put out a bad product. You say, what about Jim Beam? Well, okay, I haven't actually had a bad product from them either. But I've certainly had a lot that were not inspiring. These are not inspiring, but anyway, no money. But anyway, thanks for watching, or I should say, thanks for tolerating it. But I have enough. You say, don't tell me you got another one of these Buffalo Trace low ends coming in. Yes, for tomorrow, I have another one. But apparently very popular in Texas. All right, and it's called Ron Pontalba. Yes. All right, well, thank you, and have a good Tuesday. Bye-bye, everybody.